And first of all, I want to thank Al Ayman, the best manager in the world.
He's the fucking champion of the world!
Maldonado is Stevenson, piece of shit.
No, I think Rosado, good boy. Rosado is a good boy.
I've become a massive international superstar, it's as simple as that.
I eat your asshole alive, you bitch! Scared of the real man. I'll fuck you till you love me, faggot.
I'm going to physically shoot David Hay. Wait. He fucking glassed me. He glassed me. Derek, who down?
I'm Shannon Bridge. I'm hard to kill. I'm the black meat of the ball. I'm hard to fucking kill.
Well, I believe Christopher can take a punch. I'm very good at math and looking at a fighter and seeing what his abilities are. I can't see that Golovkin has anything like Christopher's speed, his power, his punching ability, his hand speed, his foot movement. I don't see that from a calculating point of view. I don't see that he has anything like that. So then it's going to come down to heart.
You know, I spoke to Joe Gallagher, they don't want to fight Carl Frampton. And the bottom line is, you know, no disrespect to Prosper Anchor, these guys aren't good enough to face Carl Frampton.
I'm the best heavyweight champion in the world. I'm half WPC with me. I'm undefeated champion, undisputed champion. I want who next?
He's got my dinorribonucleic acid.
Undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Who next?
I love boxing, Sam. It's as simple as that.
Welcome everyone to the 18th of January edition of the Boxing Nuthouse podcast. I think this is edition 108. I think this is your host Andy Patterson. With me today I've got Steve Wellens, Kurt Ward, Alex Morris, Adam Smith and Kyle McLaughlin. No Yanks on the show today actually to kind of maybe, you know, gloat etc. But I think only two of us in the podcast last week actually picked Deontay Wilder to win, and it was a fight that everyone thought that would have ended in a knockout. Instead it became a one-sided kind of boxing lesson. Deontay Wilder scored a UD victory over WBC champion Bermane Stiverne. 120-107, 118-109 and 119-108 on the scorecards. I think I had it 118-110 myself. To be honest guys, quite a number of people though are going slightly overboard though when I'm seeing people likening Deontay Wilder to Larry Holmes because he used his jab. I actually even banned or blocked one guy on Twitter last night after that comment. You know, Wilder kept Stiverne at a distance for most of the fight, with that long jab obviously, but well, for almost the entire fight actually. But they say he's in the same mould as Larry Holmes. It's just sensationalism at its finest, brought on by a starvation of American heavyweight title holders, I think. Whilst there's some kind of flaws, they still seem to be pretty evident. It can't be disputed that Wilder, you know, he put on a very mature performance there, considering his weak standard of opposition before that fight last night. He was very patient, didn't get drawn in, he didn't take the bait when Stiverne was taunting him, and in my opinion, once he staggered Stiverne in the 7th round, I think at that point Stiverne knew he couldn't win. I thought he was out of his feet by that point. I think Stiverne's punches, they weren't straight enough, I think he was too wide with his punches. And even though Wilder's still kind of amateurish with his defence, which we'll get onto a wee bit later, by and large, he didn't seem to get trouble too much whenever Stiverne did land. Kyle, I think you were one of the two people who picked Wilder to win last night, mate. Give me your take on the fight.
Well, I was a little bit surprised because it didn't quite go how I imagined. I thought Stiverne was going to be backing up and Wilder was just going to pulverise him. It did happen in the 7th round, like you just said. There was a point where Wilder got that straight right through. Stiverne backed up, and then that was basically how I thought the whole fight was going to go. But for most of the fight, you saw Stiverne look really uncomfortable trying to cut inside. In the build-up to the fight, you saw him doing the same head slip on the pads over and over again. There was none of that in the fight. Really predictable. He can't cut off the ring. He is, as I said last week, more of a natural counter-puncher. And Wilder, you know, he did. He put on a bit of a jabbing clinic. I don't really think, I'm with you, the comparison to Larry Holmes is embarrassing. There was none of that sort of sharpness or fluidity with the jab. He just sort of kept putting it out there, and Stiverne had no head movement to slip it, couldn't get inside. And I thought Wilder put on a really good performance. I had it, I think, 1-1-7, 1-1-1. Some people probably gave the 7th round a 10-8. It was a bit of a battering. I do think Stiverne, really, he was trying to get in there when Wilder was hitting him. And I think he showed an iron chin. The people saying online that Wilder's power has been shown up, I don't agree with that at all. I thought that, if anything, Stiverne's chin is being proven is iron more than anything else. But yeah, good performance of Wilder. I'm still not sure whether he'll beat the likes of Povetkin, who are a bit more stylistically durable, shall we say, a bit more versatile. But yeah, I was proven wrong. I thought Wilder would win, but I was still proven wrong. I didn't think he had the gas to go 12 rounds, and I didn't think he had it in him to do anything other than sort of flail around throwing haymakers. I was really impressed, to be honest with you.
Kurt, you know, you were pretty adamant that it was going to be a 4-round blowout, I think it was. I thought it was going to be pretty much a blowout myself. I thought I was going to be in bed for about 5 o'clock this morning, and then it just seemed to transpire. The good thing is, though, is even though Wilder has been facing substandard opposition, guys that are shot beyond shot, actually, is even though he did look fucked at times, he looked like he was struggling a little bit, you know, especially like that last minute of the fight. He was just basically hugging and pushing forward into Stiverne and trying to smother his work. The main thing is he's proven that he can go 12 rounds, but at the same time, as the worry is that he hasn't got that, you know, that stamina, so to speak. As I says again, even though Stiverne looked absolutely spent, mentally didn't seem to be, you know, into the fight after the 7th round. Wilder at the same time did look fucked, and he was looking to fight at his own pace for a great chunk of that fight.
Yeah, I mean, Stiverne was. I see people saying, you know, Stiverne didn't turn up, but to be honest, he's always fought like that. It's just he hasn't had a 6'7" guy in front of him who packs, you know, the kind of artillery that Wilder has. I mean, Maldonado last night was saying, you know, he needs to cut off the ring, he needs to, you know, turn to his right, but he obviously doesn't know how to. I mean, he just plods forward. The game plan, it must have been to just plod forward, you know, weather the early storm, keep the Imam off guard, and then take him into deep waters, you know, and hopefully he fade, you know. But, you know, he did look a bit tired, but I think that's to be expected. But when you're getting, you know, walking through and you're taking big shots like that, it's going to take things out of you. And like you said, you know, one of the right hands that rocked him in the 7th round, I think that was when, you know, he didn't really want to get too much involved after that. And, you know, it was a poor performance from his part, but he reminded me a bit of Samuel Peter, you know, plodding forward, no head movement, just he looked, you know, pretty rubbish, to be honest. But, you know, take nothing away from Wilder, he surprised a lot of us, but he surprised me a lot as well, because, you know, he did take a couple of big left hooks in that fight, you know, and he got caught flush with them, and one of them, I think in the 6th round, he did wobble him momentarily, but, you know, he took it, and he showed his toughness, and he carried on through it. And, you know, many people, me included, didn't think he'd be able to take a big shot from a legit puncher, you know, and, you know, he came through it, and, you know, he fought a disciplined fight for the most part. He does make mistakes, but that's to be expected, you know. All his fights beforehand haven't really taught him much. He's been learning more in the gym and in sparring, but he's going to learn more from that fight. You know, he did get caught a couple of times when he shouldn't have, but, you know, he had that. He fought a tall man's fight. You know, had the jab and followed by the big booming right hand, and, you know, he stuck to that for most of the part. Kept Stiverne away, and, you know, I was impressed by him. You know, it's still hard to say how he does against some of those guys, but I think it's made it a lot more interesting. I think, for the benefit of the division, it's good that Wilder's won, as long as, you know, Al Heyman doesn't put a block on some of these fights, because, you know, whether it be Vlad or Povetkin or Tyson Fury, they're all interesting fights, and it'll tell us a lot more about Deontay Wilder, but that was his first legit test, and he passed comfortably.
Yeah, we'll get on to the future of Deontay Wilder and possible WBC reigns very, very shortly. Alex, mate, you were very scathing, I think, last week. You says that Wilder was shit. Were you impressed with his performance, mature performance last night? As I says, you know, I didn't think he allowed himself to get dragged in. At times when he did go on a full frontal assault, it did look like he was going to maybe just gas or punch himself out. But, and as I says again, he just seemed to take a step back, kind of guard his senses again, maybe just got the wind back into his lungs and just kind of got back on the jab again and stuff. But were you impressed with him last night?
Oh yeah, definitely. As I said, I was very scathing last week of him. You know, I thought he was just going to get burst whenever Stiverne really wanted to just put the foot on the gas and do what he wanted, but that obviously wasn't the case. Wilder really just dominated the fight purely because he dictated the pace of the fight. He dictated the range that it would be fought at. He fought at, long range as much as he wanted. Every time that Stiverne tried to lunge in, he would either, use pretty efficient footwork to just escape him. Stiverne's ability to cut off the ring was pretty poor, almost non-existent. And if Stiverne did make it inside, Wilder would just smother him and sort of clinch onto him. But fortunately, that wasn't too often, and it didn't make for a too boring fight until the end, when I think both were a bit, tired and gassing a little bit. But no, I was very impressed. It was, as you say, a very mature performance for him, because there were times when he could have just unloaded completely. There were times when we saw Stiverne visibly hurt or stumbling or, maybe off balance, and he did sort of go in and start winging in and, do the classic windmill that he's known for. But he did, take a step back. He maybe took a round off at some point to let, get his gas back, and then went back to his boxing, which was very efficient. I thought he was slightly one-dimensional with his, jab and right hand, but it was working. It was keeping Stiverne at bay, and it was constantly against Stiverne's guard. But if it's working, then he doesn't need to do anything else. He's not receiving anything, as a counter attack or anything dangerous back. So keep on with that, I guess. Obviously, he's going to have to deal with more problems and more competition when he fights guys that have got a bigger range, guys that are a similar size to him, because he won't be able to box like that. He won't be able to, keep Stiverne just lunging at him. He's gonna, if he goes against someone like Fury or Vlad, then it's going to be a bigger problem, and it'll be interesting to see how he handles that, because he's going to have to fight a different range, and obviously his physical attributes are, pretty much won the fight for him last night. He would have likely should have got the knockout if Stiverne's chin wasn't so bloody absolutely granite insane. But no, I thought, again, I'm full of praise for him. I was completely wrong. He's still got a long way to go, I think. I hope he doesn't go back to fighting, the taxi drivers and the road sweepers that we've seen so far. And unfortunately, I think we will see that. But no, I am impressed, and I hope he continues to do well.
Just before I go on, it was very remiss of me actually to pass on my congratulations to the Wellens family. Steve's wife's given birth to their third child. Congratulations, Steve and the family. That being the case, Steve, have you had the chance with all the ongoings to see the fight last night?
Yes, I have had to get my priorities right, man. So I've made sure I've watched all the boxing here before I went near any hospitals or anything like that. Good to see you're the alpha male of the household, mate. That is very good. Would you have a wee boy or a lassie? Wee girl to go with two boys, so bit of everything going on. The apple of your eye, mate. That being the case, mate, I mean, I watched the weigh-in Friday night. Stiverne weighed in at £239, and I'm looking at him, I'm saying to myself, the gut, I'm saying, I was slightly disappointed he came in maybe kind of slightly flabby, but then Kurt also mentioned that he came in, I think he was maybe £10 lighter from the Areola fight, but he's now claiming that he felt flat in the ring, maybe he's looking for excuses, but the third round, it looked like he kind of then realised he was actually allowed to move his head. I was absolutely I was very disappointed actually in the fight. A, I wanted to see knockouts. B, I was very disappointed that Stiverne, those hooks he was sending in by pigeon carrier. He was far too slow. Hand movement was too slow. No head movement, no body movement, and plodding forward. Absolutely gutted at that performance from Stiverne last night. Give me your take on Stiverne's performance. Well, he said he was flat, but he's more fat than flat. He was as inactive in the ring as he is out of the ring. I think we've seen the last of him. This is a guy who's having one fight a year. I don't think he's going to be the type of guy at 36 now who's going to work his way back up the rankings. I think that's the end of him. And, I mean, we didn't exactly see what we expected to. Wilder boxing off the jab and winning on points. I mean, I thought Stiverne was going to win by 6th round knockout, so my prediction was way off the beat. I mean, if you took the Derek Chisora that fought Tyson Fury a few months ago, put a boa constrictor on his head, then that's pretty much what you had last night with Stiverne. I mean, he was just like just this chugger. It's an anaconda hanging out the back of his head there, wasn't it? Something like that. But, that's the only difference between him and Fury, and pretty much what Fury was doing, Chisora was doing against Fury. So he was just moving forward with little effect. He had complete inability to cut the ring off. He wasn't throwing his jab at all. And there was genuine panic, I thought, in Stiverne's corner as early as round 2, because I think he got hurt at the end of round 2, and his corner knew that their man was hurt, and he just seemed demoralised after that. And I thought Stiverne was maybe even coming into it a bit in the middle rounds, because Wilder was looking a little bit arm weary, started pushing the jab, and, you know, rather than slamming it home. And in the 4th round, he looked like a guy who's only used to going short distances, but he was never really pushed into any deep waters. And even when Stiverne briefly upped the pressure, he turned his foot off the gas again, and he spent too long following his man around the ring, soaking up punishment, like you said, behind the high guard. And it was actually his performance was just summed up in the 7th. You know, just a big lump, threw a shot, Wilder stepped back, Stiverne nearly fell through the ropes. I mean, it was just comedy gold. He was too wide, no jab, no output. I thought the fight really, I don't want to get negative and all that, it was pretty low on quality, wasn't it? But it was high on excitement. I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of these fights you just knew that if someone was going to land a bomb, someone could have went. But I was very impressed with Stiverne's chin when you consider that Wilder's got this much vaunted punching power. Adam, final comments go to you, mate. You obviously we've not heard from you for a couple of weeks. Who did you fancy before last night's fight? Was you impressed in any way, shape or form with Wilder's performance?
At the start of last week, or the start of fight week, I fancied Stiverne, as you know, plenty of you guys did last week on the pod. But then, following the weigh-in and thinking about it Saturday, I did lean towards Wilder, and tweeted as much. But I wouldn't say I was impressed by Wilder, to be honest. It still leaves a lot of questions unanswered. We was, expecting him to get tested for the first time in his career. He did stand up to a couple of left hooks, but no bombs in my book. I don't think he landed anything particularly clean throughout Stiverne. So I was disappointed in him. Agree with what you guys said about the only way to describe it is mature, the performance from Wilder, and extremely disciplined as well. I didn't have a bet on the fight. I couldn't call it. And then in the 7th round, I thought Stiverne went back to the ropes for the first time in the fight, and I thought that was where his heart was broken, kind of thing. And I thought that was, the writing was on the wall when Wilder was going to go on to get the knockout, and I placed a bet accordingly. And then Wilder came out in the 8th and did absolutely nothing in the 8th round. Following a good, successful 7th round, he did nothing in the 8th round, and that was just the extreme caution. How we fought with. We know he's not been 12 rounds before, so obviously he had personal question marks in his mind over, gassing out. So he was extremely disciplined. I'm not impressed with his finishing instincts, really. He rocked Stiverne in the 4th. I know it was right at the end of the 2nd as well, but he wobbled him in the 4th, and then when he followed up, he was swinging from the front row with some of his hooks. Really, that was pretty wild how he was going in for the finish. I'm not really too impressed with that, and I think that he will get beat sooner or later. Probably they'll get him through a couple of shocking defences this year. Famous Al Heyman defences, and then I think he'll go on to get beat. And I 100% agree with what Steve said about Stiverne. I think he'll just retire now. I think he'll unofficially just retire. A fella that only fights 1 or 2 times a year. I don't think Don King's going to be overly bothered about going back and building him back up again. And I think that's the last we'll see of Stiverne on any sort of the top level.
Joining us on the call actually is the chief regulator of this show, Tommy Allen. He's here to make sure we actually comply with the laws and regulations as set by Ofcom. We're fucking joking, obviously. Tommy, mate, obviously you've not seen any of the fights so far, but considering casual, yeah. considering what we do know, or what we're kind of more accustomed to of Al Heyman and his fighters, basically kind of fighting almost tomato cans, etc. Who do you think his first defence is going to be against? I've been slightly leaning to Antonio Tarver because A, he's a Heyman puppet, and B, he needs the money. You've got the problem here as well. Obviously Klitschko wants to fight, but you've got the problem here is Heyman probably won't get to do a deal with HBO. Klitschko's with HBO, and Wilder seems to be with Showtime. So politics could get involved here with this one. Give me your take on it.
I think it might be Chris Arreola. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Seth Mitchell, though, to be honest.
Big Sloth Mitchell.
Sloth Mitchell, the way
Stiff Mitchell.
Is Donny on, though?
No, he's a wee skeed, mate. I tell you what, actually, I'm interested to see what their size of their thighs and that are, because Wilder's got 18-inch thighs, apparently, which is the same size as his neck, so he's got the same size of legs as fucking Sloth Mitchell.
I still got his first defence is going to be a good one. He's going to get Molly up and basically, I don't know, they'll go. I think David T might be an option after he's winning the face. He brings big money, and hopefully we'll see him with somebody pretty good. But I won't hold my breath in that. I don't think we'll go near Klitschko.
Kyle, you seem to kind of hope. I think you're hoping for the winner of Povetkin against Perez. Is that who you're hoping for?
Is Povetkin fighting Perez? Is he?
I think I've seen somebody mention that on Twitter, actually.
Well, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought after... Go on.
Apparently, they're trying to make it for the spring.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I prefer to see it. I thought Povetkin was already mandatory after knocking out Carlos Takam, because he won the silver belt, and I thought he was already mandatory. But I can see them putting Wilder in with Povetkin anytime soon. A lot of people are already saying that he'll do Povetkin. I can't really see it. He's a lot more diverse than Stiverne is. He's well schooled, and the big thing is Stiverne took those shots, so he couldn't really offer much back. Povetkin took Vladimir Klitschko's left hook and got back up, so I can't see him getting sparked out by Wilder before he gets a chance to, get himself into the fight. I think Tarver's not a bad shout. Well, it's a bad shout in terms of what we want to see, but it's not a bad shout in what might realistically happen. I've got a funny feeling that maybe the Cannon Briggs might get the shot he's after, because he's marketable at the moment. He's American. They can play off the whole Vladimir Klitschko won't fight him, but Wilder will angle. He's got name value. He hits hard, so they could still sell him as a dangerous fight. He's on a winning streak against absolute,
shit.
Yeah, I was going to say club. I was going to say club fighters, but shit works just as well. I'm not that harsh, but yeah, club fighters really. I reckon it might be Briggs. I hope it's not Stiff Mitchell. Seth Mitchell's abysmal, man. I don't want to see that at all. But I'd happily settle for Shannon Briggs, man. I know it sounds crazy, no one wants to see him in there, but realistically, Wilder, he's not actually a champion, is he? He's just sort of top 5 ranked in the division. I don't see no problem with a top 5 ranked fighter fighting an old name, so to speak, as long as we're not being sold it as being too important a scalp. He's still got developing to do. I don't see no reason why they can't make that fight. I honestly think it might happen. I think it's sellable.
They'll sell it as the last American heavyweight champion against the new American heavyweight champion.
He's not the last heavyweight champion, though, is he, Briggs?
He was the last American one, yeah. I think he was.
James Toney was, but he got stripped. Was Tony Ruiz after Briggs Slajakovic?
There was no contest, I think, that fight.
No, I think Tony was before that, wasn't it? Tony was Briggs 2005, wasn't it? And
Briggs was after that, I think, wasn't it?
Briggs was 07.
I think so.
Oh, you're joking! I can't believe that.
Is it 7 years or 10 years since the Yanks?
Well,
Briggs was 2006. Was it?
Yeah.
What about the Mon Brewster? When was he?
He lost to Lajakovic, and then Briggs beat Lajakovic.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sorry, yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, actually, we'll have a Sif on within the next 15 minutes. He's going to give us a breakdown on the heavyweight industry. But Adam, Alex, Kurt, and Steve, conceivably, who do you think are going to be his first challenger? Do you think Butterbean might bring me a chance?
The thing is, I can understand why they'd take a softer defence. I mean, I still think Spilker, he's just been signed by Al Heyman. Why would he be signed? I think that could be a fight that's going to happen. I mean, it's going to be someone like that. It's not going to be a Povetkin or one of the Tyson Fury even. I don't think. He's still, like Carl said, he's still got to learn Wilder, and I expect that fight. But after that fight, then I think everyone will want to see him in with someone top draw. To be honest.
Yeah, it'll be someone crap first off, so we don't need to act surprised when someone crap does get announced. But I still think there's a lot. I came away last night. I'm no expert on either of the fighters or the heavyweight division as a whole, but I came away last night with still quite a few questions unanswered for Stiverne. Although it was a matured performance, he got the job done. I'm still wondering when he faces someone who's a bit more active and certainly a similar height to him. I think he'll have problems.
Yeah, as for what it's worth, I think it'd be either Spilker, Tarver, or Briggs, somebody like that. they're going to stick him in against the tomato can, aren't they? But surely they couldn't try and make a Seth Mitchell fight. I mean, he hasn't even got any longevity, has he, Mitchell? But it'll be somebody...
this is Heyman we're talking about, though, mate.
Well, no, that's true. And Showtime are complicit. They'll let him get away with it. So, yeah, he might put Mitchell in, but that'd be terrible. Terrible.
I think Briggs would work because he'd be reasonably cheap, a decent sell, and I think Wilder would knock him over, so it does work.
I'd like to see him in with someone, you know, as the point I was making before, someone who's tall, someone who's rangy as well, someone's got a bit of height behind him, someone's like, you know, Marius Wack or Manuel Char. He's not as tall, but...
might fight the winner of Cunningham-Glasgow. Might be an option.
Not a first defence, I don't think.
I don't see why not.
But Heyman wouldn't allow it. I mean, I'd like to see it. I think maybe Tony Thompson, he's getting on a bit.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Amir Mansour, he did quite well last year. He's getting on. He's like, how old's Amir Mansour? Now he's like 50 odd, isn't he?
Cunningham beat him, didn't he?
40 odd, isn't he?
He's about 40, but he spent about 20 years in prison, so he's not been beaten up too much in the ring.
At least he can punch as well, so he's obviously got that danger variety about him as well. But I think he's 43 or something like that now.
He's getting on, isn't he? You know, any of them...
Who's his promoter? Is it no NBC?
Right,
no NBC, sorry. Is it no Main Events his promoter?
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
So she's not going to do any work with Heyman then, is she?
Is no one going to say the obvious, Sir Audley?
The rematch we all want.
There's this early stoppage, the first fight.
It's ridiculous.
Audley was still on his feet.
Rise for the Ashes, Sir Audley. Terry O'Connor was the referee, so I was a dodgy stoppage as always from Terry O'Connor. But anyways, moving down that card. Now, anyone who's listened to this podcast for any length of time will know that, you know, way back, maybe 2 years ago, I was quite high on a certain Leo Santa Cruz. I likened him, and many others likened him to a mini Margarito. But over the course of the last 18 months or so, as the opposition that he's faced, you know, sparring partners, etc., cab drivers, drain diggers, and all that sort of stuff, you know, barrio sellers and all this fucking stuff. This fight last night, Leo Santa Cruz, who's Jesus Ruiz, actually came to fight for 2 or 3 rounds, actually. Stoppage was a bit weak, I thought, in my opinion, but I think at one point in that fight, Santa Cruz may have actually been thinking to himself if he was actually going to thank Al Heyman for that fight last night, because this kid actually came and put up a bit of a fight. Even though he was thrown back when the stoppage came in, he was trying to kind of roll under the punches. I did think it was very, very weak. But again, I've got money on this with one of the guys on the forum. Santa Cruz, there's no improvements with him that I've seen anyway. He's too straightforward. The likes of Frampton and Regondo are going to work the angles, and they're going to absolutely take him. I think they're going to take him apart, actually. I really do believe that. Now, I think it was Kyle, you really wanted to get wild into this one, mate, so you take it away.
Well, actually, I was just surprised by Santa Cruz. I'm with you. A few years back, I thought he was like a new sort of mini Margarito, so to speak, and I thought Ruiz was better than we thought he was going to be, but at the same time, you expect Santa Cruz to deal with him a lot more effectively than he did. He just sort of walked in, they both stood there and slugged it out for a bit. Santa Cruz was cut, I remember, as well, around the eye. I didn't have too much of a problem with the stoppage, because it was getting to the stage where the kid was being a bit outclassed anyway, and that first right hand was a bit of a humdinger anyway. I just think Santa Cruz obviously not got his mind on any competitive fights at super bantamweight. I think he's just sort of collecting that toasty Al Heyman paycheck before he moves up and fights an Abner Mares or someone like that. I think maybe he might feel a bit liberated at featherweight, where he's, you know, he won't have to make as big of a cut to super bantamweight. It might well be that against a better fighters at super bantamweight he'd fight better anyway. But last night he just seemed to be going for the motions, and I don't think it ever looked like he was going to pay for it. But Ruiz made a good account of himself, actually. I think I can see Ruiz as a future Scott Quigg opponent after that.
Hopefully Eddie wasn't watching. Well, I dare say, again, I mean, as I did say, he did come to fight. He put it on the line anyway. Stood in the pocket with him, sent a ring and banged it out as much as possible. Anybody else catch his fight?
Andy, I just thought last night, when I was going to bed, I'd done shit all day. I thought, shall I get up early enough to watch Santa Cruz, or shall I just get up for the main event?
Yeah.
I just got up for the main event. I just don't care. I'm sorry, I just don't. He's fighting some bloke who I've never heard of and getting paid far too much. I'm just not interested.
I got halfway during it. You really didn't miss much. It was a bit rubbish. I thought that, Leo was probably a bit cruising a little bit. He probably didn't take this guy so seriously. The other guy was, Ruiz was, really putting it on him. He came to win and all that. You hear these cliches in commentary, he's teak tough and he's come to win and all this nonsense. But he gave it a good go. But when he's fighting guys like this for, $750,000, he's just not going to bother fighting Quigg. He's not going to bother fighting Frampton. He's not going to bother fighting Rigo. He's just going to do what he wants, earning that kind of money, fighting an absolute guff. And there's no incentive for it. And I doubt we'll ever see those fights. I was saying earlier, I think that he'll just go straight to the Mahrez fight, because I think that fight is very big in America. They'll both earn a fair amount for that, easily 7 figures. And I'm not bothered with him anymore. Every time I hear he's going to fight, I'm thinking, well, is opponent going to be worse than Scott Quigg's opponents? I mean, they're both on the same level at the moment in terms of their opposition, and at least Quigg has got the Frampton fight lined up. We know that fight's going to happen. What fight's going to happen for Leo Santa Cruz? Mahrez, maybe. Mahrez, I still think, is a bit, his soul is a bit shattered from the Gonzalez fight, and he's really not... His hype has just completely gone out the window. So what's Leo going to do? If he's just going to fight, complete rubbish for the rest of his career, then people aren't going to tune in, and I'm certainly not.
He fancies the Abner Mahrez fight. I mean, he told me that last year when I was talking to him about Frampton on the phone. Like, they'll make that one, pretty sure that fight will definitely happen. Probably, but featherweight. And Margarito, was that you, Andy, who said Margarito style-wise?
Mini Margarito. I mean, yeah. I'm going back to super flyweight. Is it super flyweight? He held a title, I think it was. Or was it bantamweight?
Who?
Santa Cruz.
Bantamweight, wasn't it, I think?
Yeah.
Was it bantamweight, yeah?
Yeah, that's what it was, sorry.
Yeah, the Margarito comparison's a good one. I think one of the best adjectives I can come up for Santa Cruz is like workmanlike. I know that's a bit of faint praise for a WBC champion, but what more can you say about him? He doesn't inspire me. He doesn't make me want to see more of him, to be honest. Like, Adam wouldn't even get up half an hour earlier to watch his fight. I mean, that's the most damning indictment that you can come up with there. I mean, the one thing I do like about him is he's a relentless guy who likes to come forward, and I like the elasticity of his arms. Even when he misses with a headshot, he sort of has this ability to swing his arms into an uppercut or a hook, which is a pretty dangerous weapon. I could see him catching people out on the inside with that, but that's about it. I don't see anything else that really inspires me about him, and he's made such a lot of money in his last few fights. I mean, apart from Christian Mijares and a pretty faded version of Mijares as well, how strong has his level of opposition been? I mean, Jesus Ruiz last night, was he any better than Kiko Martinez or Scott Quigg's Japanese opponent or Kid Galahad? I mean, it's borderline. Is he any better than them? And I've seen a lot of Carl Frampton, like, as you know, up close, personal, in the flesh, ringside, ever since he turned pro, and I just don't see how Santa Cruz beats him. I just don't see it. I'm not buzzing about Santa Cruz at all, and what was the other thing I was going to say? Kenny Bayless. I'm a big fan of Kenny Bayless. I don't know whether it was too early or not, that one, to be honest, but he was never going to win the fight, was he, Ruiz? So I'd sort of let that one go.
That being the case, and that's just the best fight on the card, which was an absolute shootout. It's a contender for round of the year. At this early stage, it's only 8th of January, and that's a contender for round of the year. Some people are liking it to the same pace, reminiscent of George Foreman against Ron Lyle. Amir Imam won a 5th round stoppage against Fidel Maldonado. How do you pronounce his name? Maldonado Jr. I'll just call him
Maldonado.
Fidel. I'll call him Fidel. Basically, anyways, every time Fidel got knocked down, it was like, anybody know about Chris Kyle, that American sniper, it was Navy SEAL?
Yeah. I just saw that movie earlier, actually.
Yeah, it's quite weird. Every time Fidel went down, it's like he just took a bullet off Chris Kyle, because it's like his whole life seemed to kind of like evaporate from his body when he got fucking knocked. He went down in installments sometimes. But, I think it was it the first round he got knocked down, or was it the second round he got knocked down and then he came back?
Yeah. At the end of the round, wasn't it?
Right at the end of the second round, short right hand,
yeah. He was like, he just looked dead. He looked completely limp.
It was actually unbelievable. But he says he knocked him down. I think Imam knocked him down in the second, and then twice in the third, I think it was, and he got him again in the fifth. But Fidel actually came back in the second round, and I think he knocked him down with knocked down Imam with a straight left hand. If you've not seen the fight, guys, you need to go back and see it again. You know, round 3 is probably a contender for round of the year.
Excellent.
The first time I've actually seen Imam actually, I mean, it was just a battle of the power punches actually. I just didn't think Fidel actually kind of like tried to work his way inside. It was just kind of basically walk forward and throw power punches. But it was actually a good fight. I did say to myself when I saw the fight, is this going to be a great start to the card actually? But yeah, good fight. Alex and Kyle, I know you've seen the fight, guys. Give me your thoughts on it. Kyle, you go first.
Oh, I'll go first. Sorry, Alex, I was waiting for you. Well, basically, I just thought I was just not excited about it at all. One of those classic, you know, touted American prospects versus journeyman fights. And in the second round, he dropped him. I think over on our commentary, they were saying, "Oh, you know, he's supposed to be like Felix Trinidad," and I just cringed at that. And in the third round, Maldonado got back up, hit him with the left hand, dropped him, and then you had a fight on basically. And I'm with you. I watched it with my dad. I said, "Dad, you got to watch this." He likes this boxing. He's not one of, you know, he's not like a hardcore fan. He knows his fighters to an extent. And he was pissing himself watching this fight because it was just mental. Every time Maldonado got hit, it looked like he'd been zapped by an electric eel. Actually, he looked like an electric eel. He was like flopping about and stuff. But I think he was generally getting hurt, and he was pretty game actually. The knockdowns were all pretty savage shots. This Imam, I think he was a pretty good amateur. I think I might be wrong, but I think he lost to Errol Spence in the Olympic box office or something. So he's not. He's pretty highly touted actually, and I think it's the first time I've seen him, and I was quite impressed. Even though he got knocked down, I was quite impressed by him. He's going to have to, you know, shore up a few of the holes in his game, and how he got backed up and held against the ropes a fair bit. But it's actually a really, really fun fight. I think so far round 3's got to be round of the year. It's not saying much. We haven't been here very long, but in this year, but you know, it was a really, really fun scrap. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It was brilliant.
No, I completely agree, really. I mean, if you've got a spare 20 minutes, go watch it, because it's the knockdowns alone are just hilarious. You see, you know, Maldonado just flop about the ring. It looks like when Stone Cold Steve Austin used to stunner The Rock, and The Rock would just like flail about everywhere. Yeah, that's what exactly he looked like. I mean, he was just all over the place, and it's hilarious. I mean, it's a good little fight. As Carl said, round 3 is probably round of the year so far. Not saying much, but it's got, you know, 3 knockdowns, trading knockdowns. I think, you know, I've never even heard of the two guys before tonight, really. I mean, I don't follow the American domestic scene that closely, but no, they're very, you know, I thought Imam's obviously got very decent power. His defence needs a bit of work on it. He was very open to the sort of straight left hand from Maldonado, but other than that, it's a good little fight to watch.
Just before we get a C-phone, Kyle, mate, there was a fight from Japan. Was it? I forget where it was from again. Was it Tokyo? I think it was. Jomthong Chuatna against Dake Kaneko. Now, I know you've not seen the fight, but you've been following the build-up to it. I think you've read some reports. I think for the OBPF super featherweight title, mate, can you give us a quick summary as to what happened in this fight before we get our heavyweight expert on?
Yeah, we spoke about it briefly last week. Jomthong Chuatna, he's a really highly touted prospect from Thailand, Muay Thai champion. He's still fighting in Muay Thai. I think he's top 10 ranked by WBC now. Dake Kaneko gave Uchiyama a scare about a year back, dropped him on his ass and battered him for the championship rounds. Really, really good prospect. Not prospect, he's a sort of good fringe contender. And most of the Japanese guys were saying that this was going to be for a shot at Takashi Miura, who's the sledgehammer-fisted WBC champion at super featherweight. And basically, I think that Jomthong missed the weight 3 times, which is not uncommon for a Thai. They do have pretty bad weight cuts. He fought last month at 147 pounds in Muay Thai. He made 130. I pretty much wrote him off and thought he was going to get destroyed, because obviously they are good at cutting weight, but he looked very, very gaunt. Kaneko looked like a Adonis in there. He was an absolute beast. I've only followed the reports from the Japanese guys on Twitter and seen photos. Jomthong bossed the fight. He won a unanimous decision, I think, 2 7-5s, 1-8-4, 1-1-5, 1-1-3, 1-1-6, 1-1-2. Absolutely bossed the fight. The weight cut didn't seem to bother him. He took over from that round 4 onwards, and looks like we've got a very interesting contender at £130. So, be interesting to see how he goes from here. I think the fight with Takashi Miura, anyone who's seen him knows he's an absolute monster. He was the guy that Abner Mares was supposed to fight, and Mares pulled out. I think probably when he watched some footage of him and thought, no thanks. So I think that's going to be a great fight. I really look forward to seeing the fight. I still can't bloody find it. It was on Japanese pay-per-view, so I don't know if we are going to see it, but I hope we do.
Excellent stuff. Join us on the call now. We've got Asif Mahmood now. As you know, we've actually reached out to Asif now. He's had a lot of good positive feedback on this podcast relating to his heavyweight knowledge. So we've actually reached out to him. He's going to carry out a fortnightly segment on the heavyweight division. Now, Asif, mate, give me your thoughts on the Stiverne Wilder fight last night and give us a breakdown as to the news and the happenings in the heavyweight division. Klitschko Jennings apparently not signed. Joseph Parker, I believe, is in America doing some training as well, mate. Give us the details.
Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, fine, mate. On you go.
Yeah. So, last night, I'll be honest, I was shit scared watching that fight. I went to bed about 10:30, 11. I thought I'll get to bed and we wake up at 5. But I couldn't get to bed. So I came back down at 1:30, started watching films and everything. But my heart was pounding. Because I think out of genuine excitement and apprehension, but it was a good fight. I enjoyed the fight. I was supporting Stiverne, even though I felt Wilder might win by knockout like everybody else. But I give Wilder a lot of respect. I think he answered quite a lot of questions, and yes, there are still questions to be asked. But he answered a lot of questions last night, going 12 rounds, beating a top 5 contender. Let's not forget Stiverne was a top 5 contender. He was the WBC champion, so we have to give Wilder credit for that. And in the build-up to Wilder talked a lot, so you have to back that up. In the press conference, he was acting a bit like a WWE superstar, talking a lot, shouting and screaming a lot. So he had a lot to back up. And I think even a day before the fight, on the day of the fight, it might be just me, but I thought he looked quite nervous. At the weigh-in, there was no bomb squad going around out of his mouth. There was a quick stare down it and he walked off. In the ring of that fight, he wasn't smiling, he wasn't jumping around. He actually looked quite nervous, but I think that actually worked for him. I think he had the perfect game plan for Stiverne. I know everyone's talked about it, about the way Tyson Fury fought Derek Chisora, just on the back foot and keep the jab out. It was similar to when Stiverne fought Ray Austin. Ray Austin was just getting his jab in Stiverne's face until Stiverne finally got one through to him. So that was a good fight by Deontay Wilder. Where does he go next? There's a lot of obviously everyone's trying to play matchmaker now, but there's quite a few options. I know a few names that have been put out there are Spilka. Spilka was signed by Al Heyman 2 years ago, and I'm not sure if he will have to fight a WBC ranked opponent. I know normally when they make voluntary defenses that the opponent has to be ranked within the WBC unless there's certain exceptions, and Spilka is ranked WBC. I know people have mentioned Antonio Tarver and Seth Mitchell. They're not ranked by the WBC, and neither is Shannon Briggs, but who knows what can happen with Al Heyman. And just for information as well, if you actually go to the WBC rankings, Vitaly Klitschko is actually still champion emeritus. So imagine if he wanted to come back and face Wilder, that would be good. It's not going to happen, but just something to put out there. And just going on from there as well now, just talking about the other options. Obviously, they're going to build a lot of fights in the States now. And the American heavyweight scene is actually not too bad. It's got quite a bit of depth there. It might not have a lot of quality, but it's got a few depths. Al Heyman's got a few undefeated heavyweights in Gerald Washington, who's 15 and over 13 knockouts, and Charles Martin, who I think 19 and 0 with 16 knockouts. Charles Martin seems okay. I think a lot of the undefeated heavyweights like Washington and Dominic Breesdale, I think they'll just probably fall short and end up becoming journeymen like Dominic Gwynn and people like that. But Charles Martin seems okay. He's beaten some decent names. He's beaten quite a few undefeated fighters, and he's ranked back to the organizations. Speaking of organizations, the WBA fight between Luis Ortiz and Latif Keodi, that's been ruled a no contest. So Ortiz has been banned for a few months, I think, and the interim WBA title is available. And Lucas Brown, the Australian, has tweeted he's interested in the WBA interim belt. Mike Perez, he's fighting on the February against Darnell Wilson. There's this thing about Perez against Povetkin for the WBC eliminator. Now there's a lot of things going on at the moment with Brian Jennings. Is he not going to fight Vladimir Klitschko? He was originally supposed to fight him on the April 25th, but as you know, Gary Shaw was bought by Rock Nation, and that fight was going to be at the Barclays Centre. But yesterday there was something going about that the fight's back on, but not at the Barclays Centre. It's going to be at Madison Square Garden. And Jennings was talking on, to a few online interviews about fighting him. But now, today, Jennings has tweeted that nothing has been confirmed. So I don't know what's happening with that, because Jennings is actually WBC mandatory. It's not Povetkin or anybody else. It's Brian Jennings. And it'd be interesting to see if he wants to fight Wilder or not. Will he hang around and fight Wilder later on? Who knows? But Perez and Povetkin will only be WBC eliminator if Brian Jennings chooses to fight Klitschko, and that's still up in the air. If Klitschko doesn't fight Jennings, interesting to see what he might do, because he'll want to fight. If he does fight, it could be in May. People were talking about in Ukraine, but we'll have to see really what happens in the next 1 or 2 weeks with Vladimir Klitschko and Brian Jennings. The next fight the next decent heavyweight fight is going to be Tyson Fury and Christian Hammer, which is a good fight. I'm looking forward to it. Hammer's a decent opponent. I don't know, whatever people say. I mean, people have in the last half an hour, people have put together opponents like Shannon Briggs, Torres, Stephen Mitchell for Deontay Wilder, and Christian Hammer is probably better than all these guys. So I don't think Tyson Fury should get in stick for fighting Christian Hammer. Also on the undercard of that fight is Eddie Chambers, who's kind of got lost in the wilderness. He was supposed to fight Ustinov, but Ustinov has backed out today. So Eddie Chambers is still without an opponent. It's a shame really, because he's beaten quite a few people in the past. I know he lost to Klitschko, and since then he lost to Thomas Adamek, and he lost to the cruiserweight. But when he was in his peak, he beat Dimitrenko, Calvin Brox, Samuel Peter. So Eddie Chambers, I think he's a bit underrated, but I think he's probably past his best now. And just moving on as well, we all know IBF. So somebody mentioned Glasgow Cunningham for Deontay Wilder. That's probably not going to happen, because Glasgow Cunningham is an IBF eliminator. So the winner of that will get a fight against Vladimir Klitschko and most likely get sparked out. Tony Thompson, I don't know what's happening with this fight with Hollis. It's been putting back and forth, because Hollis keeps getting injured, probably because he's still got too much weight. And but that supposedly is supposed to be in February now, but I can't see anything on BoxRec or anywhere else. So we'll have to see what happens with the Tony Thompson and Anis Hollis. And Anthony Joshua, he was supposed to fight in 2 weeks, but he fractured his back, a stress fracture, which is quite rare in young fit males to get a stress fracture of the back. It's more common in little old men and little old ladies. But he's scheduled to fight in April in Newcastle. I just think if Froch does fight Julio Cesar Chavez in Las Vegas, that would be perfect for Anthony Joshua to make an American debut. Personally, if Eddie Hearn wants to build him up as a big superstar, then that would be a perfect opportunity for him. And I'm gonna end briefly again on Deontay Wilder. Like I said, I give him a lot of respect. I'm not a fan of Deontay Wilder, but I'm not a hater. I just don't like his attitude, but who knows what might happen. But I think at this stage, he's definitely established himself now as the other top 5 heavyweight, along with the Povetkin and Fury, and possibly Pulev. And that's about it for now. Hopefully in the next 2 weeks we'll get a few more updates, especially with the Vladimir Klitschko fight, and maybe a few more fights coming in the near future.
Okay, Asif, thanks a lot for that, mate. Cheers for your time on that.
Cheers.
That's Asif. We'll have him back on again in 2 weeks' time. Cheers for that, mate.
Cheers, Asif.
Excellent, mate. Cheers.
Coming up next is our Twitter question. I think Tommy's now got his mic fixed out, so I'll just put the first question to him. You there, Tommy, mate?
Yeah, mate. Yep.
Oh, good stuff. Right, first question comes in from... Oh, actually, see if you're still there, mate.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, actually, I've actually got a question in from one of our Twitter followers, so before we let you go, I want you to answer this question before you go. This is from Matthew Tarragaran. He's actually asking Asif for doing the heavyweight segment. What do you think of Joseph Parker, and how far do you think he will go in the sport?
Oh yeah, Joseph Parker, he's fighting Mark Pettoe. He's fighting an undefeated heavyweight in the next couple of months. He's got a lot of potential. He's sparred in the past with Vladimir Klitschko, and he's going to spar with Klitschko in the near future. He's sparred with Stiverne before the Ariola fight. He's young, he's 22, he's got a lot of time on his side. If they build him up rightly, if they build him up right, you know, obviously it's still early, but potentially, you know, there's going to be a lot of hype about him. But one thing I've learned is we have to wait and see. Like last night, Deontay Wilder, we had to wait and see, and he finally passed the test. With Anthony Joshua, with Joseph Parker, we'll have to just wait and see. Yes, there's a lot of potential there, but we have to wait until they have their first acid test.
There we go. Hopefully that's suitable for Matthew. Cheers for that, Asif.
No problem. I've got a question before I leave. Would the last night fight would be as exciting if it wasn't for the WBC belt, and therefore would having a lot of belts be good for boxing in that sense?
Nah, I thought it was exciting anyways. Two top 10 fighters. It's the styles that excite me, not so much the meaningless trinkets.
Yeah. Then to be honest as well, as all these titles actually, I mean, people are going about, I've mentioned it before, is even though you've got all these titles in the sport, it's nothing new, because if you go back in history, you know, you've had the Australian version, the British version, the European version, the American version, the world title, etc. So it's always been a labyrinth of world titles kicking around, so I really don't think it would have mattered. Because at the end of the day as well, you've got a fight next week, Rios Alvarado should deliver, it's not even for a regional or a domestic title, so you didn't always need titles for it to be a decent enough fight, I think.
Yeah, Andy, I was just going to say on that point, actually, I always thought that the reignition of the excitement in the heavyweight division would always come whenever the challengers met each other below the Klitschkos, when we sort of accepted that the Klitschkos were the dominant force and maybe they weren't going to be challenged for a while, but the likes of your Wilders, your Stivernes, your Hayes at the time would be fighting each other, and that would provide the heavyweight excitement.
I think that was a good question, though, Asif, because it made it more exciting in America because it was an American going for a world heavyweight.
Exactly, and it made it exciting, and the build-up was good. We had Don King, and whatever people think of Don King, he made it exciting as well.
Yep.
The good thing as well is, I think the good thing is that with Wilder winning last night, it kind of adds that wee bit more freshness into the division. I mean, we all know that Stiverne's chronically inactive. Wilder's fighting 3-4 times a year probably just now. He's now champion, so he's going to bring that American, I wouldn't say, a wee bit more American interest and stuff like that.
I mean,
that's going to be a good thing as well.
I don't think that was Stiverne's fault, because Stiverne actually won the WBC Eliminator back in June 2011. So he actually won the original Eliminator 3.5 years ago. He's just been hanging around because of Vitaly Klitschko. So I think that's not partly his fault. But I do agree with you. Hopefully, Deontay Wilder, if he can fight more often now, that would make things exciting as well.
No problem.
Cheers
for that, mate. I've got a group call popping up here. Kurt, is everything okay with the call, mate? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I think we've
Tommy.
lost Tommy.
Tommy,
mate. If you're listening, Tommy, mate, if you just jump on the call, mate.
Tommy.
He says he's dropped. His net's dropped off. So I'll just go to the first question. I'll go to Steve. Steve, boxing tip advice. Will Wilder get into trouble for thanking God before he thanked Al Heyman last night?
Yeah, he should do. Al Heyman's the one with the money, baby. He can see him right in front of you. You got to thank Al first. That's a sin that will never be forgiven in my eyes.
I thought Al Heyman and God were the same person.
That's blasphemous. Don't you dare compare God to Al Heyman. Al Heyman's much more powerful.
Right. What else? Next question coming up here. Sam Chatwin's asking Alex, actually we could maybe save this one for a wee bit discussion a wee bit later on, because Miguel Cotto, the fight, with no Cotto fight, who does Canelo need to fight to keep his date on May 2nd?
Golovkin.
Well, we're going to answer this now then, yeah?
Do you want to leave us for a wee bit of discussion later on? Because obviously we're going to cover the fights we needs to happen in 2015. I think we should maybe leave that for a wee bit later in the show. Being the case, Alex, next question then I'll put to yourself. Paul Ainsworth, he wants to know if there's a reason why people just completely ignored the success Wilder had in the amateurs. Also, Don King is a cunt.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the last bit. I was talking to Paul about this earlier, actually. Apparently, I read earlier that Wilder apparently only, in the Olympics at least, he only won one fight to win his bronze medal. He got a bye into the quarterfinals, which he won. Then he obviously had the semi-final match, which he lost, and he got a bronze medal for that. The rest of his amateur success, I'm not too up on, but apparently Wilder did win 2 fights at the Olympics. I haven't actually checked myself, and if anyone wants to correct me, go ahead. But, his amateur success, again, I don't know much about it. I imagine it is based largely off of his knockout prowess and his knockout power, and the way that if you're basing it just on the medal really means nothing. Anthony Joshua's got a gold medal, but we know that that's a farcical gold medal. Roy Jones Jr. won a silver medal, but he should have got a gold medal. It's, it all changes up. So I don't think his amateur success really matters here either. I think that he showed his boxing ability in a pro game really well last night. It's a sort of hidden talent, but I don't think that's really got anything to do with his amateur background.
Tommy back on the call. Tommy, this comes in from David Booth. Although it's wrong from a fan's point of view, will Al Heyman, shielding Wilder from fights be the right move? Maximum income, minimum risk.
It is the right move on his part. I think he's a pretty average fighter, to be honest. Maybe a top 5 heavyweight. I think, as I said earlier on, I think they'll probably match him with a soft touch, and if they can't get somebody like David Ian where they can really cash out after that, it's going to be soft touch after soft touch. I don't see him putting him in with anyone dangerous straight away anyway.
Bobby Hunter's actually got 2 questions here. Kyle, Wilder's trainer said that Fury Wilder fight was is actually bigger in the UK than it is in the US. What's the chances of this? I personally think that Heyman keeps Wilder in the US to fight prime time on free TV.
Oh, well, I don't know if he's out of the... I know he's got the Richard Schaefer get-out clause, but I don't know if that can be exercised until... I believe Schaefer's not allowed to work for a year or something like that. I know he's teamed up with Al Heyman. I don't know if he can exercise that. So as far as he's with Golden Boy, he's still with Showtime as far as I know. Golden Boy have got no clout with NBC. It's all an Al Heyman thing. So I think for the foreseeable future, he's probably still got another fight with Showtime, to be honest with you. I may be wrong on that. I'm not too... That's just a common sense sort of prediction. So yeah, I don't think he's going to be on NBC yet. He might well end up on NBC. Obviously, Tyson Fury's fight with Cunningham on NBC Sports.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
There you go then. So yeah, that might work out. But I can't see Wilder coming over here. No chance whatsoever.
The thing is, you got to remember as well, with the NBC deal that Heyman has, I think he's got 9 dates that are going to be broadcast in the afternoon in America, which would be around our prime time. So the fight could still take place with Wilder and Fury in the States, but be on their afternoon and our like 10 PM, which would suit both of them.
Yeah, that would work, but I can't see. Look, we said last week, Heyman's probably going to put on a couple of good cards to start off with, and then he's going to drop off. With someone like Deontay Wilder, who's a heavyweight American, he knocks people out, he's fairly marketable. I think he might pull in the Floyd crowd as well. He had a rapper come down in a wheelchair last night, so he's hitting all the positive markets and that. It might eventually get Lil Wayne come down, sat on his shoulders or something. I don't know, maybe hit those markets, but I think that Al Heyman is going to have all the fighters he's got on his stable. Wilder is the one that he's going to milk because he saw Stiverne. That's the biggest risk I think we're going to see from him for a while, because that was a stylistic matchup that was favourable to him while still being risky. So now they can say, oh, he's took the risk. He fought the WBC champion, and I think after that they're going to milk him for all he's worth, basically. I think big NBC, they're going to try to bring heavyweight boxing back to the States. That's the kind of thing they're going to say. You're not going to see a Klitschko. You might see a Tyson Fury, possibly, but I think it's probably going to be more along the lines of milking him for as many defences as he possibly can against no opers, really. Danny Williams might be a bit too dangerous at this stage, but yeah, Danny Williams maybe. I mean, maybe someone like Chisora, maybe the Malik Scott rematch we all want to see, because we all know that was just it was too competitive not to see another one of those. So it might be that.
I think the Fury fight in America is a sell, because by all accounts the Americans other than their own, they know quite a lot about Fury, and you know
it's the one they ask about all the time, isn't it? It's always. I mean, if you listen to Coogan Cassius when he was on the podcast, says whenever he's in America, it's always Fury that the Yanks seem to ask him about for some reason. So
I wouldn't say they like him; they're probably intrigued by him and maybe think he's an idiot or a loudmouth or whatever. But yeah, there's interesting.
I was going to put the next question to you, Adam, but I know you never saw the first the Santa Cruz Ruiz fight. Alex, you saw that fight though, eh?
The Santa Cruz Ruiz fight?
Aye.
What was the question about it?
I was just going to say, but Bobby's actually asking, he says, also, what do you think about the guy Ruiz that fought Santa Cruz fighting Kid Galahad next? He thinks it's a good fight.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, Galahad's still in the position where he's trying to make more of an impression and get the attention of the bigger people, and I think a name like that would probably help him. The come-forward style of Ruiz would give him a nice little test as well. As we said before, they were probably more likely to see him as a quick opponent, but, it's a good fight for him.
Kurt Martin Hurry's asking, who wins between Ola Afalabi and Tony Bellew he's got here.
Ola Afalabi for me. I don't think he'd have many problems with him either. I mean, he's shown his toughness, and Bellew goes on about his power, but Afalabi's shown he can take punches from Hock in 3 fights, and he's just missed out in a couple of those, and I think he's underrated, Ola Afalabi, and I think he'd be too much for someone like Tony Bellew.
Steve Keith Smith is asking, if Terry Flanagan beats Steve Ormond, is he the best lightweight in the UK?
Best lightweight in the UK.
Better than Kevin Mitchell, do you think?
Better than Ricky Wants?
No, not a reputation. But, well, Flanagan's actually a good fighter. Regardless, I've been impressed with him. He's one of these guys who doesn't seem to have had the breaks. He's gone under the radar. He was in a prize fighter, wasn't he? Wasn't that where he came through?
Yeah. Then he fought Nate Campbell, didn't he? Or feeded Nate Campbell.
He beat a really badly faded Nate Campbell. But this is actually a really good fight against Ormond, because Ormond's no fool either. They'll be right on top of each other, and whoever wins will be pushed through the WBO, I think, into some kind of high rating.
So European, that WBO European title fight there.
Something like that, yeah. I mean, Ormond's trainer, Pascal Collins, was even talking about trying to fight Terence Crawford at one point. Now, I mean, I don't think there's any danger of that ever happening, but definitely if Flanagan beats Ormond, yeah, I'd say he'd be plotting his own path regardless. You'd not be worrying about the UK lightweight, I wouldn't have thought.
Now, final question comes in from Shep. Now, you always know that Shep's going to put in a wee bomb in here somewhere. So
here we go.
Shout out for Shep, the man.
Open it up to everyone. I'll start with Tommy and I'll go up the line. Shep's asking, what is your most anticipated heavyweight bout of 2015? Wilder against Klitschko, Fury against Joshua, Fury versus Wilder, or Fat Dan against Diabetes?
Well, obviously the last fight, Diabetes, is going to kill Dan in one, isn't it? So it's going to be one of the other fights, isn't it? I want to see Fury against Wilder, or even, this is a good scenario, David T against Wilder, Fury against Vladimir, and both the winners fight, obviously. But yeah.
I want to add Povetkin in there. Povetkin either against Joshua, Fury, or Wilder. Simple fact is, I think I maybe mentioned it last week, guys. Just jump in here, but I think I says is, after that Klitschko performance or defeat, he could have easily went way down the rankings and just chucked it, etc. Put on weight, ballooned up, and become the next generation of Butterbean. But to be honest, he seems to have got himself back into shape, and he seems to be fighting a far lot better now than what he did in the past. I mean, if you go to the Hook fight, slightly out of shape, but I think he looked absolutely brilliant. Best he's ever looked in recent memory against Carlos Takam.
I'm a big fan of Povetkin. I think he's technically brilliant. Maybe a bit small for some of the bigger heavyweights, but I'm a really big fan. I like watching him.
I very much agree, Andy. I think that he could have, faded into the background a little bit, but he had a really good 2014 and he looked good.
I think he looks better after Klitschko than he did for years leading up to it. I thought he looked pretty terrible against, not terrible, but he was fighting the likes of Bruce Seldon and stuff. It's all over the shop. Chagayev, he done alright against. I think Klitschko dominated him, gave him a kick up the arse, and I think
Life
where it was in Russia as well. Yeah,
Huck as well.
Yeah, but I think Huck's a pretty decent size anyway. Everyone makes the point, he came up from cruiserweight, but actually he's a good 210-pound old school sized heavyweight. He gave Povetkin a good go. He's a good lad. He's technically shambolic, you know what I mean? But he's a good fighter, Huck. He gets too much stick. I'm very much big on the cruiserweights anyway, so I reckon you should just either move cruiserweight down to 190 or just abolish it and send them all up. I think they'd all do pretty well, to be honest with you. Cunningham was pretty a powder puff at cruiserweight, and he sat Fury on his ass. I want to see, I'm with you guys, give me Povetkin Wilder first, Fury versus Vlad. Have the winners fought off against each other. If Vlad wins both of them, if he beats the winner of Wilder, Povetkin and Fury, I think he's one of the greatest heavyweights of all time.
There you go. Kurt just got an erection there. Kurt, give me your thought on that one.
Sounds good to me.
There we go. To get the lube out. Alex, Steve, what do you think? What fights do you want to see in the heavyweight division this year?
Povetkin Wilder, I'd like the look of that one. But then, you see Wilder now, he's this Larry Holmes-esque boxer, you could see him smashing that jab.
Ban him off the call.
Smashing that jab into Povetkin's face all night. So
it's good that Wilder fought, because we just saw Muhammad Ali's birthday, and there's a lot of comparisons between Wilder and Muhammad Ali, I feel. Are both excellent fighters. Ali almost as good as Wilder, I feel. It's got the power of Joe Lewis as well, I believe. But
are we talking about Wilder or Anthony Joshua now? I don't know, because they're both. All these go to them, don't they? If you're Barry.
Hey, Jake.
Do you think that injury is legit? I tell you what, some people are actually saying about a fortnight before the call-off, actually, that fight wasn't going to happen for some reason.
Yeah, there's something about that going around, isn't there?
Yeah.
some people can dislike, Matchroom and Hearns and all that, but does anyone seriously believe Josh was ducking same
No. Can he be? Surely, Christ, no. I mean, if he's the real deal and stuff, and well, put it this way, I think he's the goods. And to be honest, if Fury absolutely dominates him, and Chisora, who dominates him as well, then surely, Christ, Joshua would actually school him as well.
Well, yeah, let me tell you, actually, he's talking about world-class jabs. You see, for all his faults, I remember seeing Kevin Johnson sparring Terry Dunstan and Martin Rogan up in Breen's gym in Belfast. If you want to see a world-class jab, he might not have much else, but that guy can frigging land a jab like Johnson, to be fair to him.
Cycling!
Didn't quite hear that. What was that?
Sorry, I got a really, really bad cough. Sorry.
I was going to cough. Cycling.
At the end of the day, injuries do happen, and they're not in a rush with him. And he's only still young. So if he is injured, let's postpone it.
I think I know what Kyle was getting at there, and I just typed it into the Skype chat. Am I right there, Kyle?
Yeah.
Say no more. Say no more.
Yeah.
I
thought he was saying that's how Anthony Joshua injured himself going cycling. Did he fall off his bike?
He trains a lot with Bradley Wiggins, I've heard, down in the London metropolitan area.
He was just cycling, that's all.
Right, okay, so you remember getting trained up for doing the what do you call it? The Giro d'Italia or Tour de France?
No, anybody's doing London to Brighton, just a little fair weather, Sunday cyclist course. No, nothing wrong with that.
So he's got to get juiced up for that sort of thing. So you just go and cycling.
Yeah.
He's at the same race that Floyd Mayweather's part of as well.
They love their electrolytes, these boys. You've got to get it all back in the system, ain't you?
Oh yeah, it really sort of pumps the testosterone through the body, and they're just really going for it. Getting mad.
Can I beat a good, nice wee bottle of Lucozade, or Powerade?
Definitely.
Gatorade. Anyways, Kurt, you know what to do next, mate. Making its return after a 2-week vacation as Bellew of the Week segment. Or if we ever get told to ever cancel the Bellew of the Week award, we'll just rename it the Tony Award. So here it comes.
Okay, what's the Bellew of the Week? It's gonna happen, mate. We're gonna do it, and when we do it, it's gonna be vicious, mate. I ain't a man dregsing with the weights. I ain't a man taking the last ounces of my soul on the scales. I've done that before. I ain't doing it no more. You can say what you want. Oh, Bellew's not in shape. Bellew looks fleshy at the weight. Bellew's just iced a man who's never been done before. Bellew just feels in absolutely fantastic shape. Bellew doesn't lose 2.5 stone no more each time for a camp. Bellew goes to the gym now 15 stone and just cuts 10 pound nice and easy. I fought Nathan Cleverly in my 16th fight, 15 fight novice. I had 4, the best person I fought was Oval Mackenzie at British title level. I am now, is that 25, is that 26 fights? I've fought some of the best, I've fought the best fighter in the world in my weight class, one of the biggest pound for pound punchers in the world. I've beat guys like Isaac Chilemba, world ranked guys. Let's see who beats Isaac Chilemba. I've beat renowned punchers, Ederson Miranda. I'm not saying who's the best Ederson Miranda, I'm just saying I've beat these guys. Who's he beat? Okay, everyone's saying, well, Tony, he did beat you. He beat a guy who basically got a fight because he opened his mouth at a press conference and he sells a shitload of tickets to the Echo Arena. That's why I got that fight. Everybody thought he was going to smash me. Everyone involved with that fight thought he was going to smash me. But when he went to within an inch of losing, and it's a decision that could have went either way, he doesn't want to come near me after it. That's why he couldn't answer the question then when I said it in front of him. Just answer me this: why wouldn't you take the rematch immediately? Do you know what he said? I think he was saying what that Walsh train station was. That long word. I couldn't understand what he was saying. I just answered a simple question. Why wouldn't you fight me the minute after the rematch happened? He wouldn't fight me because he believed he was going to knock me out, and he just believed he was going to beat me up. And that's all I've got to say about that. Right. Let's do it right now. We can do it right now, you fucking rat. Okay, what's the Bellew of the Week?
It is the return of Bellew of the Week award. You know, it's very, very well known. And on the line, we've actually got Tony Bellew. Tony, how you doing, mate?
Your podcast isn't worth a carrot.
Sorry about that. Sorry to hear that, mate. Listen, you happy about your move into Hollywood films?
I wanted to say that I had Stone on the phone saying he wanted to get me over to Lee Strasberg school, learn a bit about method acting. I said, your Oscars ain't worth a carrot, Stone. Rambo was shit. And, you know, I'm playing a character called Pretty Ricky Porter. And, you know, I think they're going to put a load of makeup on me and that, because, basically, I think I could fart and get more box office than Strong could nowadays, you know what I mean? Anyway, it's as simple as that. Simple as that. Your podcast ain't worth a carrot.
So, Tony, are you still offering me out for a fight, mate, after your meltdown on YouTube with Craig and Cassius?
I carry power, alright?
I carry a chib, mate, and a fucking 6-inch blade.
I've got the chin. I've gone Scottish. Jim Watt's with me on the phone. Jim Watt's here.
Oh, fucking Jim Watt, he's got the whiskey with him as well.
Aye, he's got nowhere to go with this impression, so he's going off the line. Your podcast ain't worth a carrot, mate, alright? I'm going. And tell Marco Hook I'm not going over there to get robbed. He can come over here and get robbed at the Echo Arena.
Okay, Tony, thanks for your time, mate. We'll see if we get you back on the podcast.
Fuck off!
Was that Jimmy Corkill?
Like Sinbad.
Right, okay. Now, I've actually been saving these up actually over the course of the last couple of weeks, actually, because obviously we vacated for the first show back last week, and it was really, really busy. I wouldn't say it was dreadful. I think I was pretty good, actually, a wee bit of dry throat, etc. But anyway, first person up. I haven't... Sorry, Kurt, what were you going to say, mate? Kurt, were you going to say something there, mate?
No, go on, no.
Alright, sorry. Richard, does anybody actually still watch his videos? That Richard, is it Diwar? Does all the kind of 20-minute videos, etc., and like boxing tips, etc.
Fuck no.
No, I've not watched one of his fucking videos for years. But I got it sent to me. I forget by whom, but basically there's a quote in here. And he says he's speaking on a potential Klitschko fight, and he says this is about Anthony Joshua. He says, "What is Anthony Joshua going to bring to the ring that Alex Leapai didn't bring?"
Where do you start with that one? Alex Leapai, fucking on the... How can you compare that guy to an Olympic champion? Fuck me, man.
Alex Leapai was the man who got schooled off Malik Scott, who got fucking chinned off Derek Chisora, who quit and dived against Deontay Wilder, for fuck's sake. Second on the list is Adrian No Problem Cloner, rejecting 40 million, a guaranteed 40 million over, 4-5 years from Rock Nation. He then issued an apology 2 days later after someone with some brains actually sat him down and says to him, you know, how much you're actually rejecting here. 40 million. I would actually shag my worst enemy for that.
Imagine all the cheesy nachos he could have bought for that too.
Imagine all those whores he could have bought and filmed shagging, you know.
It was just the way he turned it down, you know, saying, you know, Jay-Z can suck my dick. I'm a boss, and bosses talk to bosses.
Mm-hmm. She's going to speak to Al Heyman after his next fight, I bet you. Now, I really don't know if I should maybe put Barry Hearn in this one, because this one actually relates to darts.
Oh, go ahead. We can always find room for Barry.
Barry Hearn, with his irony-free accusation that the BDO Darts Championship is a phony world title.
Scott Quiggle will want to fight for that fucking short, won't he?
Next up, Jermaine Taylor.
God.
Saying that the Sergio Mora fight is going to be very exciting.
Fuck you, God bless you.
And I've actually taken a gun into the ring.
He's going to shoot him anyhow.
He is. I've got 2 nominations in here from Don King. First one saying that Mike Tyson is going to come back if Stiverne wins the fight.
Oh, mate, that's terrible.
Now, thank fuck that being the case, thank God that Wilder won, because can you imagine, Tommy mentioned last night, can you imagine Tyson, how he wasn't in the McBride fight, and add 10 years? Then I said, add the fact that he takes diazepam, fucking Valium and all that sort of stuff. You know.
Who, Stiverne? I think he took diazepam and Valium last night, didn't he?
I think he took crack last night, the way he was going.
Nah, he was smacked up, mate.
And Don King again accusing Vladimir Klitschko of avoiding fighting in the USA because the best fighters, and is only the champion of Germany.
Oh, that's got to be it, innit? That's terrible. You can't say that.
Okay, so that's the nominations this week. But I'll go through all of these: Steve, Kurt, Alex, Adam, Kyle, and Tommy. Have you got any other nominations this week?
No.
You covered it, I think. I think you covered it.
Adam and Alex.
Just trying to think. Maybe Mixler Chat's got a couple.
Yeah, it's been a bit light lately, hasn't it, in the last few weeks for Value of the Week.
Well, you just wait till the British scene starts heating up, and then we'll have Sky commentators, everyone from Matchroom. It'll heat up.
Froch is back shortly, man, so we're going to have a few crackers, aren't we?
Alex, wait a minute. There was something mentioned by Francis Warren, I think, about the Flanagan Ormond fight. Was there not something mentioned about that?
Oh, I think he was saying that he was talking about, obviously, Derry got the fight against Abril, and apparently and Terry Flanagan, and the winner of Terry Flanagan and Stephen Ormond is going to fight Terence Crawford, and when they win that, they can fight Derry Matthews in the summer for a huge British showdown, domestic showdown for, unified titles.
Fuck's sake, that's bad.
That's good, innit? That's a good one, that.
So
there you go.
We've got Francis Warren. We've got Richard. Is it Dewar? Is that how you pronounce his name? Richard Dewar. AIDS-ridden, no problem cloner. Baza Hearn, Jermaine Taylor, and Don King.
I'd like to nominate GZ for both of them, that fucking 240 million.
So there we go. Got GZ. He's getting nominated from Tommy. So Tommy, you're going with GZ. Kyle, who deserves the vote this week from you?
I hate to say it because he's a lovable old chap who'd never do anything to hurt anyone, but Don King for saying that about Vlad being what are you laughing about? He's a sincere old bloke. Don King for saying that about Vlad because he's not just the champion of Germany, he's the champion of Russia as well.
And the Ukraine. Since Russia won the Ukraine.
Yeah, true. Actually, that is true.
The Crimea.
He's not that. Povetkin must be the champion. Now they've taken it back.
Adam.
I'm going to vote for Jermaine Taylor simply because that fight is horrid. I honestly can't think of a worse world title fight against Mora.
I'm telling you, by the way, I think Mora's in my chance for that fight. I think Mora's really in my chance.
It's going to be a war.
Anyone who you put in with Taylor's in with a chance. It's a despicable fight, to be honest.
It's going to be a war.
Alex.
I'd like to nominate firstly Cotto as well, so that you and Tommy can have a quick go about Cotto for his bitching out of the Canelo fight. But I'm going with Don King, the Mike Tyson thing.
That's 2 votes for Don King so far. There we go. Kurt.
I think I'm going to go with Francis Warren for saying that. That's too much. That's gobsmacked me.
What did Francis say? I missed that. What did he say?
He basically said, I think he said along the lines of that, he said something about Derry Matthews and Norman Flanagan winner clean up at lightweight on the world scene.
And then have a unification.
And then after having a blockbuster domestic showdown for the summer. I'm like, oh fuck. I didn't watch the video.
They can't even make Andy Lee and Billy Joe Saunders, so I don't know if they're going to make bloody, make that fight.
They can't even get Eddie Chambers in a decent heavy ranked opponent,
Oh, mate. Well, he is pretty dangerous. No one wants to get in with him.
They can't even get the toilet sorted in the XL, can they? So.
No, one toilet, 400,000 people.
Kurt, you said you're voting for who again?
I got for Francis.
Francis Warren. So
Ben Wiseman being sued on Monday.
Steve.
Let me think. Who am I going to go? I think I'll go for Don King. I think it's about time he snuffed it. I'll go for Don King.
Don King. So that's
pretty evil, Steve. I approve.
Joke's a joke, but that's
2 or 3
evil.
votes for King. Is that 2 or 3 votes?
It's 3.
That's 3. So he's won it basically. I was wanting to get to Dewar because actually even sentencing Joshua and Leapai in the same fucking video is like having like Tory Black and some slapper from round the corner on the same fucking porn video, So, no, okay, Don King, you haven't really done much over the last 10 years, mate, but congratulations. You are our Bellew of the Week award winner. Congratulations, old man.
Only took him about 90 years, but he finally got it.
Finally got it. Now, discussion. Let's go back really to one of the first questions, the question about the Cotto Canelo deal falling through, and who Canelo needs to fight to keep the May 2nd date. First off, I tell you what, I think was it yesterday it was confirmed that the fight was off, or the negotiations had ceased. Is that right?
Yeah, yesterday. Yeah, it was moving up.
My Twitter timeline was going absolutely fucking berserk. And I think people were trying to bait me into fucking slagging Cotto off because people know I'm not a big Cotto fucking lover, etc. But I'm going to hand this over to Tommy for a wee bit. Actually, Tommy, mate, give me your thoughts on one of your all-time favourites ducking your current favourite fighter.
I really don't know what to say about this. We all know that Miguel is a bitch. He's a coward. He's probably gay. He sleeps with that big fat, that skinny guy who used to be fat. Looks like a fucking. He's got a turkey's neck with that raw skin just hanging down from it.
He looks like a rooster, doesn't he? The big jowls fucking hanging down at the bottom there.
I honestly think that Mayweather's been on the phone to Mr. Cotto, and we're going to see that fight probably announced in a few days. So I think the logical step would be for Manny Pacquiao and Canelo to make a fight against each other. Obviously Manny will fight him at the full 154 pounds with no rehydration clauses, but yeah, that's what I expect to see happening, and they can maybe go for it to May the 2nd. I'll be interested to see who gets the date on May the 2nd if those fights happen.
I think Mayweather will get that date, but I think join us on the call to probably try and defend the one and only Miguel Cotto as Rocco, back by popular demand. Rocco, you there?
Hello, mate. Hello, chaps. You alright?
Not bad. Not bad, mate. Not bad. No, you're here to defend one known coward called Miguel Cotto. Why is that?
Well, no. I've said to you before. I mean, when I've heard on here before when you've all like gone in on him, but it just makes for a better thing. I mean, I'm up for saying someone off and taking the piss, but it makes for a better thing if you've got someone putting the other side. And I'm not saying I'm not like a fanboy. I'm not his biggest fan. I did like want him to lose to Margarito, but the idea that he's a quitter and a pussy, taking a knee ain't a quitter. Yeah, not in my book.
But looking to his corner and shaking his head saying no mask,
Well, no, but look, right, all these boxers, they're all got massive egos. They all promise the earth before the fight they're going to do this, they're going to do that. And one out of the two of them has to eat humble pie. Now, this is what I said the other week when I said about stoppages, about referees stopping fights, corners stopping fights. These boxers, when they're in that position where he was, yeah, he didn't. I mean, you're all gonna, we'd all probably look at De La Hoya and say like, yeah, he fought everyone and all that, but he quit on his stall against Manny Pacquiao. Cotto tried to finish the fight. He'd lost the fight on points. He was just he was in that survival mode as he was against Margarito, where he's just sort of like backing off. He's on the run. But if he was a quitter, he would have sat on his stall against Manny after about 8 rounds.
He wanted to quit in that fight.
He actually scored.
Yeah, but he didn't, did he? He didn't. The referee stopped it.
But he wanted out that fight in the 11th round. Okay, give me this then, right? Would you disagree with me? Is he not the king of vacant world title wins and fighting cripples?
Yeah. Apparently, he wants to fight that geezer that wrapped Wilder into the ring last night.
No.
There you go. He fought with 2 one-legged fighters, Yuri Foreman and Sergio Martinez, right? And then obviously he's got the vacant titles against Michael Jennings at welterweight, and who was the one? Was it Ricardo Torres? No, Quintana. Then I think he won 2 vacant titles. At welterweight. I forget who it was. It was against. It was against Pinto at light welterweight.
Kilson Pinto,
that's the one.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the. But the thing is, the form.
Right, you've cut out there.
He's quit.
Rocco's quit.
He's like Cotto.
He's quit.
Put his phone down on his stool.
He's pulled a Puerto Rican quit job.
Can I pipe in quickly?
He's dropped his phone in the bath.
I don't think Cotto's ducking Canelo. Like you said, Mayweather's been on the blower and he's probably offered him more money.
He's taking the bigger fight.
Cotto's not scared of Canelo. I mean, Canelo throws about 8 punches around and can't cut the ring off, so I don't possibly know why he'd be scared of him. But yeah, I'll be devastated if they make the fight, because then Mayweather will win the lineal middleweight championship and I'll never be able to say anything against him ever again. So I'm praying to God.
I wonder if Mayweather will actually fight Cotto at the full weight like he promised he would do the last time.
Yeah, but I think Cotto, he's probably willing to come down a bit anyway. Yeah, he's come down a weight anyway. Yeah.
He'll beat Cotto and unify with Jermaine Taylor.
Look, yeah, I'll tell you what, mate. Mayweather would beat Jermaine Taylor pretty easily at this stage.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about Sergio Mora, though. He's pretty deadly. He's a snake.
It's a sorry state of affairs to still be talking about Taylor and Mora.
I just can't wait for the Ormond Terry Flanagan when they get their hands on Mayweather.
They might chuck Heather in with Ormond and Flanagan in with Floyd, I think.
Rocco's still trying to join the call here. He's obviously...
I can still hear him yakking in the background. He's like the wee fucking Judas, old money.
Rocco's going to start kicking off.
Rocco, we'll give you a couple of minutes, mate, to try and get back on the call if you're listening. If not, we'll need to move on. But
Canelo's got his own fans, though, hasn't he? I think if he fought Golovkin, then Mayweather would probably lose a few buys, because Canelo's own fans would probably buy that fight.
I do feel for Canelo because, the Cotto's a big fight, commercially, and one that it could obviously win. And then, to be in limbo a little bit. Everyone's in a little bit of limbo until Floyd decides what he's doing.
See, the thing is, right, Canelo and De La Hoya are 100% says they're going through with this resetting date.
I don't believe it.
Canelo
said he's doing it.
I'm pretty convinced that they're going to do it. Which fight are the Mexicans going to buy? Who are they going to pay to watch? They're obviously going to pay to watch Canelo, aren't they?
Could Canelo end up on Floyd's undercard?
No chance.
No, he's on HBO now. HBO now. He's by HBO.
You got to remember as well, though, if the Cotto fight doesn't happen for Mayweather, so let's say Amir Khan gets the Mayweather fight, Oscar's gonna have two of his fighters against each other on rival stations, going against each other on the same night in Khan and Canelo.
Khan don't sound like pay-per-views anyway, though, does he? Not over there.
What about Lemieux? I mean, he just signed Lemieux, De La Hoya. He did mention it maybe be a fight down the line, but he maybe be forced to make that fight as soon as possible.
Lemieux to fight who?
Canelo.
I don't think that'll sell. Golovkin. Make Golovkin.
Well, by what they're saying, they're after James.
Oh, he's HBO, isn't he?
That's what they want.
Do we class Khan as a Golden Boy fighter or a Heyman fighter?
Yeah,
he's still Golden Boy.
He has. Is he not?
He's got a contract in both.
Yeah, he's still with Golden Boy.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think actually the options. I mean, title wise, obviously Lee's got a voluntary defence. I really don't know who else you got.
Offer from Quillen.
I think he's went over with the fucking, what do you call him? Heyman to NBC maybe.
God.
Heyman's offered Lee wants the Quillen Lee fight, doesn't he, in the beginning of early April?
That's a shocker, by the way. See if that fight happens. Actually, I'll be fucking raging.
The belt that he dropped, wasn't it?
Yep. I'll be raging if that fight gets made.
Unless she's making 1.5 million, that's the worst business deal in boxing. Actually,
Rocco, you're back for the rematch now, mate. Margarito's had his eye fucking banjoed, but you're back here to try and get a moral victory over us.
Yeah. That wasn't me doing a Duran. I didn't know maths. I didn't quit it.
Don't bring Duran into it. Don't bring Duran into it.
No, I'm only joking. Look, all I'm saying is I wanted Margarito to beat Cotto in the first fight. I don't hate Cotto. I just think that he's fought literally everyone. I know he might be a bit of a pussy in the negotiations and want the A side, but against Manny and against Floyd, he quite happily took the B side. He's fought both of them guys, same as Hatton, and I just think he does come across as a little bit surly. Do you know what I mean? As Froch does, and I don't like Froch, but I just think Cotto. I don't think. Look, all boxers when they're in the ring, when they're getting the shit beaten out of them, they want their corner to save their face by throwing in the towel, or they want the referee to save their face by throwing in the towel. But to me, him trying to get to the end against Margarito and Pacquiao, and Floyd. Like, you know what I mean? If he was a quitter, he'd have done what Oscar did, or, you know what I mean? He would have sat on the stall, or, you know, started rubbing his hand and things like that. You know, I'll take that as that, you know, he'll fight anyone. But, you know, yeah, it's your opinion. Do you know what I mean? I'm not trying to change it. I'm just giving you an alternative.
You don't give me any alternatives when it comes to Miguel Cotto.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. You know, you need people that obviously you don't like him. Some people do. So that's fair enough.
Ignore the haters, Tony. Ignore the haters.
Canelo thing. Yeah. Sorry, it's just Steve. Well, congratulations, mate. Anyway, no, no, I'm just saying. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I just think from this point, it's going to look awful if Floyd don't take this fight. But you know, regarding tweeting the same thing to 100 people, I can say it on here. In like, if he's going to announce it, I remember before, because he fights in early May, that them saying he won't announce it until after the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl, which I think is February the 1st, takes over in America. It dominates everything. So he wants maximum exposure. So I think in the past it's been like the week after the Super Bowl. But I think for this fight, I think like an half-time advert in the Super Bowl. I think this fight needs... It don't just need like Floyd tweeting, you know, guess who I'm fighting. I think it needs like, you know, a sort of like a shot press conference called, and, you know, or something big like that. What do you think?
I think you should try and meet the fight. I think you should try and meet the Can fight on Skype. If he does that, he'll get maximum exposure.
Oh.
Yeah, but he's seen for someone fucking kill his missus and kill himself on Skype, so he ain't going to worry about Khan's prick, is he?
Oh, man.
Oh, God.
But I don't know. I mean, look, we're all boxing fans. We all want the biggest fights to happen. I mean, the other week, people were saying, "Oh, look at this year. We could get Cotto, Canelo, Mayweather, Pacquiao. You know, later in the year, Golovkin versus the winner of Cotto, Canelo. You know, we're getting Furman and what's his name,
Guerrero.
No.
Guerrero, Peterson and Garcia. You know, it was all looking so good, and then, you know, now it's like it's all going a bit wrong, isn't it?
It's early days, Tony. It's early days. It's only the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I know. And what do you all think about this? The other day, it was 80% this Froch fight against Chavez. They moved the Brook pay-per-view from the 7th to the 28th to stick it as a two split site pay-per-view, and now they're saying that the Froch fight's off. So
who's Brook supposed to be fighting? Because they reckon
they're right, Jojo Dan. No, they're right. They're right.
Dikare or something.
It could be that fight.
Dikare's not. He's not highly rated with the IBF, though, is he? What's going on there?
They do reckon that Jojo Dan may be perfectly suitable for the fight now. I think he says it was enough time to make weight or get prepared for the fight, but I think he's now had a change and he will try and make the fight.
Is that going to be a pay-per-view, part of a pay-per-view or something?
Oh, definitely.
But it was supposed to be like with Froch as well, but if Froch is not having the Chavez fight, he'll probably retire, and so will they look to just put Brook on as the headline act?
That's what I mean. How are they going to justify pay-per-view Froch isn't on it? I mean, surely Brook Dan is just a bog
stacked
standard.
undercard.
That's true. Ricky Burns and all them, innit?
You not to go. I mean, it's all pie in the square, but obviously we don't know what's going to happen. But it's like Brook. This comeback after this injury, really, they want a right doddle. They want someone who's no sort of danger at all, because he's feeling his way back. But I've said it before, from all what Eddie said on interviews and things, Wembley want an event every year. They want a boxing match every year, and I think that this year, that with the Froch Groves one, the thing conspired that it grew a life of its own, and Wembley ended up being the perfect place. But I think this year, I think the venue's booked, and he's looking round now, the biggest fight he can put on. And I think Brook Khan is his number one, but I think Khan, again, because of egos, Khan doesn't, a bit like Groves, Khan does not want to be bullied or goaded into taking this fight. That's why he's now talking about fighting Bradley for probably much less money and no belt. So then, if you remember at the Bellew Cleverly pay-per-view, they started pushing Groves de Gaulle too for Wembley. And then, but again, George ain't going to do Eddie a favour because there's no love lost there. And he's obviously mandatory for Darrell. So I can't see him doing Eddie a favour by... So I think if Froch don't fight Chavez, I think he's always got Froch there as a backup plan in case, so if the Brook Khan thing goes tits up, and then if Groves won't take it, he's always got Froch there to put on, whether it's against de Gaulle, whether it's against Kessler, whether it's against Golovkin, whoever. I just think he's got the arena booked, but he's got no fight yet, and I think he's scratching round, and you know, that's the way it seems. Do you know what I mean?
Good point, Tony.
I don't think it works like it. So, you know what I mean?
That's the point.
So, but what else, guys? What?
Yeah, well, I definitely think that that's got a lot to do with the Mayweather next opponent. So, yeah, I think Mayweather might fight anyone really. Could be anyone, couldn't it?
But after in 2010 they said, they was negotiating, but that was all, you know, behind the scenes. You didn't really hear. But actually Manny coming out saying he signed the contract, Aaron's been suspiciously quiet, and he did say before that if the negotiations are ever going to go on, that it all needs to be done and no one needs to talk things. So, you know, it does seem like negotiations are actually going on, but I just can't see who Floyd can fight to save face if he don't fight Manny.
Could be damage limitation, though, couldn't it? It's easy for them to say we've done all our part, and then because then if Floyd don't want to sign it, they'll say, oh well, we told you we did all our part, so it's obviously Floyd's fault. I think they want to have Pacquiao fight Terence Crawford anyway. So
yeah, they're saying either Crawford or that Vargas, wouldn't they? So
I've heard Mikey Garcia might be in the mix as well.
Well, I want to see Mikey Garcia versus Terence Crawford. But, you know.
Yeah, them two first, and the winner fights Pacquiao.
Garcia's coming back.
Garcia's off the old human, isn't he? No?
Yeah, he's coming back, isn't it early March or something they were saying?
Well, before he pisses off to Al Heyman, he should get one of those fights done.
I reckon both of them beat him. Both of them will beat Mikey Garcia.
It's hard to say, because he's been so inactive and doing naught, because he's obviously fucking about.
If you want to talk about quitting, mate, there's a lad who quits.
Anyways, Rocco, cheers for that, mate. I mean, you came on trying to defend Miguel Cotto, but in the day, mate, you're still not going to change me or Tommy's mind over the guy. But you put up a good fight, mate. But we'll leave it at that just now.
Right, buddy. Listen, speak. So I'll tell you what would be funny, wouldn't it? Is if my mate suggested this. Is if everyone printed out like them sort of like paper masks of Al Heyman. And you had about 5,000 people sitting there with Al Heyman masks on at a fight. That'd be quite funny, wouldn't it? Oh, weird.
Now, thank you,
hiding in shadows and all that. Fucking Batman.
Fucking Batman, Okay. Cheers for that, Rocco, mate. I'll let you get going anyway.
Guys, loving this show.
Yeah, Tony.
Cheers, mate.
What, mate? See ya.
Bye. Right, okay. Next, what was the next thing up?
Where are we now? I don't even know.
Bellew of the week, is that done now?
Bellew of the week, we need to go back to that. Right, fights that need to happen in 2015. I'm just going to go to everyone, and I want you to pick your top two that you want to see for this year. I'll start with Steve.
Oh, right, Steve on the spot. Let's think.
It's all about, son.
Quigg, Frampton, and Stevenson, Kovalev, please.
Okay, Kurt.
Yeah, Stevenson, Kovalev. I want to see Golovkin get the fight he deserves. I mean, so Golovkin, Cotto, to be honest, I think I would like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Where's that lube? Where's that lube? Alex.
Obviously, those ones have already been said. I'll be a bit different. I'll go for Estrada against Gonzalez 2, the rematch, and Lomachenko Walters.
No, I wasn't expecting that one. Adam, it's sounding like, I don't know if it's true or not, but it seems like your man Froch is perhaps retired this evening. According to Twitter, I think he maybe just baiting and trying to get a couple of responses. So, who's your top 2 picks for this year?
Joshua Fiore. I think that can happen. And Stevenson, Golovkin. They're the ones. And just not Stevenson, Kovalev, and then Golovkin to just continue to try his hardest to get anyone of reputation in the ring.
Kyle, I think I've got a rough idea of where you're going, mate, but give me your top 2.
I'd say so completely left the field then, just to puzzle you. No, I'll go for Gonzalez Estrada 2. Do you know what? I'd like to see Golovkin and Cotto, because then Golovkin will finally be the lineal champion, and he finally know that he's the number 1 middleweight in the world. So I'll go with whoever Cotto fights next for Golovkin to fight the winner of that.
Tommy?
Tyson Fury versus the British Ivan Drago.
Joshua?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was talking about John McDermott.
Psycho.
And who's the other one? Is it going to be the fight that we shall never discuss until afterwards?
Nah, it's not going to happen. Mayweather's a fucking killer, doesn't he? Come on, that. Cotto against Golovkin. I want to see Golovkin fucking just smash him in bits, man.
Cotto, Canelo.
Short and sweet. I didn't want to even see a sustained beating in that fight. I've seen Cotto getting beat up a lot of times. I just want to see Golovkin just win and hit him 2 or 3 rapid and just smash up his bits.
Tommy wants to see that Sergio Martinez, Paul Williams type knockout.
I bet a hat and Pacquiao or Paul Williams. That just lying unconscious with his leg twitching. Perfect.
And then about 2 years later, he goes back to the ring and pick up his teeth.
Yep.
Let's see a Drago Creed.
For me, I want to see Roman Gonzalez against Nayo Inoue, and I think it's good. I really don't know if I'm actually interested in Kovalev Stevenson now, actually, because I think we're at a problem here. As Stevenson's never going to fight, you've got a problem here with the networks. So I think I want to see. I really don't know.
Colin Brook.
Yeah. Why not? It's a British super fight at the end of the day, I think. Yep, Can Brook. So that's my 2. Roman Gonzalez, Nayo Inoue, and Amir Khan against Kilbrook.
What? No one mentioned Burns Matisse.
Who?
Burns against Matisse.
Hey, who mentioned that fight?
That was a few weeks ago.
Fucking.
Terry Dooley tweeted it out.
Yeah, it was Dooley said it.
Oh, Terrence.
No, I mean, Steve's mentioned Bradley Skeet rematch against Frankie Gavin.
Just a thought of that.
Let's make this happen.
Deluge number 3.
They could put it in the undercard, the fucking Jermaine Taylor and Corey Spinks rematch.
Yeah. Anything else you want to discuss, guys, before we go to the fight schedule? I mean, we've got the news that there's a ton of action at some point, maybe this year. Andre Ward. Anybody want to take this up?
I'd rather talk about Edwin Valler's innocence and how he was stitched up, how he was stitched up by the Panamanian government, or
Venezuelan government,
and how he was killed in his prison cell. Poor Edwin.
Does anyone think this could be our last ever show after they shut us down?
How old is Andre Ward?
He'll be 30 now, I think. 30, 31.
I mean, he's
32, isn't he?
supremely talented. He's supremely talented. Speaks quite well. Lives kind of clean outside the ring. He's messed up. He's just not capitalised. He was the clear successor to Floyd Mayweather, and now he's just completely off the radar. But it is good to see, though, lads, because he's been inactive for that long. At the back of your latest Boxing Monthly edition, Carl Froch is the number one at super middleweight.
I just think we've got to give him some credit.
He's retired now, mate, so he's no longer number one.
He's not retired.
I bet you're going to be. You're going to have the ski mask out, climbing over his back fence, rattling the window. Don't retire, Carol. Don't retire, mate.
Gun to his temple. Get back in that fucking ring.
Get in my ring, Carol. Get in my ring. Don't you worry about boxing. Get in my ring.
Froch said during the week that Ward probably beat somebody decision again if he knock him out.
Yep.
Did you watch that interview? The guy just happened to stay stopped by Carol's house, and Carol just happened to have his belts lying out the couch.
It's on BT Sport, wasn't it? I do need to watch it actually.
Oh, fuck.
I think he does that just to wind people up. Actually, he's got all the belts. I remember someone saying on Twitter, "Can the cunt just not have a normal interview?" I'm like, well, I think he just does it for effect now. Actually, 'cause I think he knows he gets a lot of reaction on Twitter.
But if you've got all them belts, why wouldn't you just get them out? Come on.
Well, I don't recall De La Hoya or Hopkins getting their belts out.
I don't care about De La Hoya or Hopkins. We're talking British fighters here getting an interview.
Well, to be honest, Calzaghe holds more belts than what he does.
Yeah, brilliant. But Calzaghe's retired.
Yeah, so is fucking Carl Froch.
He's not retired, lads. Come on.
Oh, if you want to read between the lines, it looks like he has.
Well, yeah, but he's just trolling everyone. And it's worked. He's worked with you lot tonight.
I just want to know how Adam feels that Froch would rather retire than face James Chunky DeGale.
Lads, I said this. You can go back to the live edition we did after Wembley, and I said he would rather retire than fight DeGale, and I've said it repetitively throughout. He would rather retire than fight James DeGale.
He'd also rather retire than fight Chavez and Hopkins.
Why would they retire rather than face DeGale, though, Adam? Why is that?
Well, it's rather simple. He's going to get paid less money than he did against Cruz, and he's got more chance of losing.
So take the fight.
He's still going to be millions and millions and millions. Though.
Yeah, I've said it. Honestly, I've said it since the very night he beat Groves. He won't fight again. He'd rather retire.
I think after the shit he spoke to try and get that Kessler rematch, he's going to kill him to settle the score and stuff. I think he should actually chase the Ward rematch, try and settle the score there.
It's not fair, Froch picking on a commentator, though, is it?
Yeah, I suppose.
I don't think the Ward rematch was. It's not even spoke about. That's how much they want it. They don't even.
Yeah, listen. The rematch isn't spoken about because Eddie Hearn says he doesn't fill out a phone box. Froch is now trying to convince the casuals that it was a close defeat, whereas I didn't even give him a fucking round in the fight. The
thing is, no one really wants to see that fight because everyone knows it won't be a good fight, but Ward wins all day long, and that's the thing. Froch won't win the fight. He said himself he won't win it. So
Ward wins all day long, and no one. If it's in America, hardly anyone turns up.
If he's successful next month, how about a unification fight with the great Paul Smith?
Well, I mean, there's potential.
That's one fight I'd be pulling for Carol Froch, and if it was Smith.
Paul Smith, there'll be all sorts of rematch clauses in Smith-Abraham, so I can't see that.
I think after that fight, there'll be a mantra getting put in place for after that fight. Any other news kicking around, lads? What's boxing scene saying today?
Got next week fights, if we're still discussing them.
Yep, we'll have a quick look through them in a minute. Wilder apparently is claiming he had a hand injury, and he says he's injured his right hand. I
actually thought that during the fight. I was thinking that around the sort of 4th or 5th round, he was stopping. He wasn't throwing as many right hands. I thought maybe he's hurt his hand, but then he starts throwing absolutely loads of them later on. So I thought it was a load of shit. But the fact he's come out and said that makes me ponder it.
Apparently, he hurt it in the 4th or 5th round. And he says he's got a hell of a chin and a hard head. So,
boot line with Al Heyman.
Yeah, maybe that was Joseph Gorbel sending out that PR stunt there. He also explains the problems he would pose against Klitschko. What's he saying here? He said, I've got youth, I'm faster, I can fight on the inside. Can you fight on the inside? A lot of people don't know that I can fight on the inside. Yeah, you don't know you can fight on the inside, you prick. You can't fucking fight on the inside. I think my speed, my youth, and my IQ in the ring, I'm a lot smarter than what people think. I've got all the attributes about me to pose lots of threats to Vladimir Klitschko. Jesus Christ. Do you think he took the angel dust after that fight last night?
PCP.
Oh, Christ almighty. Oh, Lucian Booty signed with Al Heyman.
Aye, that's what I just said.
Fuck.
Is he?
Yep. So that's the Adonis Stevenson fight fix.
That's the Stevenson fight then, yeah.
Big fangs happening this year for Booty.
Fucking hell. Hopefully Stevenson retires him.
No, come on, you'd love to see
It'd be great if Booty, yeah, it'd be great.
Body shot.
Bute's been ruined by Carl Froch and you all.
Bute versus Kovalev, that's what we want.
This is the resurrection of Freddie Roach. Is he still with Roach?
I think he is, aye.
He's with Roach now.
Yeah, I think he is, aye.
He hasn't had a fight under him. He was supposed to fight in December, wasn't he? But he got injured.
Been
but
Cobra'd.
he's with him.
Freddie will get the fire on
him.
Bute, Cobra'd. George
Anyways,
Cobra'd.
We'll move on very briefly to the fight of the week next week. I think there's only one card from, obviously one from America. We've got a European title fight from Italy. Elmanio Marcella against Antonio De Freitas. So, other than that, there's not really much else apart from the card from Colorado. Matty D is not going to be in attendance. I did say I'm going to apply to Tommy for press passes. I don't think he did it. But one up-and-coming super middleweight contender, Gilberto Ramirez Sanchez, faces Maxim Flazov. I wonder if Slava is going to be saying he's the next up-and-coming fucking white supremacist super fighter. But he did lose to Isaac Chilemba pretty widely, so obviously he's pretty shit, so I've not heard much about him. But the fight, guys...
Let's see who beats Isaac Chilemba, Andy. Let's see who beats Isaac Chilemba.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's the best Isaac Chilemba. Let's just see who beats him, you know. But anyway, guys, did anybody catch the road to Rios Alvarado 3? Fucking listen to Mike Alvarado. That is a guy who is fucking... He is well on the slippery slope of being absolutely a non-entity. I mean, listen to his voice. That's a guy who's just basically propping up a bar just now.
I think the guy sits in the pub for 8 months and then he goes to the training camp for a fight and obviously fights him back into the pub again, man. He's definitely a junkie, eh?
The loser of this fight, does anybody want to argue that the loser of this fight is basically now onto the status of basically either finished altogether or journeyman status?
Rios said he'll retire, didn't he, if he loses? But
did he say that, did he?
Something like that, yeah, I think it was...
Yeah, he did, yeah, I remember seeing that.
The loser of this fight will be dropped by top rank and they'll be fighting Al Heyman fighters.
To be honest, I can't see either man going anywhere, even if they win dominantly. They're both sort of at a stage where, I mean, we said Alvarado, he just looks a mess at the moment. The rumours going out about him, about, alcohol problems, drug problems and things like that. He's just one step away from being in a fucking prison cell. And Rios, well, he's been on the slide for a while now, so, it'll be a fun fight. I think that, the first two were pretty excellent fights, and the third one, I think, will not disappoint unless they've both just really had a poor training camp or whatever. But, yeah, I mean, where do you think either man will go? What are they going to gain from this fight? It's a welterweight fight. Who are they going to fight? They're not going to fight Floyd. They're not going to fight Pacquiao.
Kell Brook.
Well, I think the only ranking it's held here is Brandon Rios, and that's with the WBO. I think he's ranked 4th. So maybe, what about the winner faced off against Saddam Ali?
Yeah, good fight.
That'd be good.
Tim Bradley's right there as well.
But just talking about Tim Bradley, did anybody catch some of the comments? I don't know if it's true or not, but there's talk about him going up to middleweight. Is that right?
I think he was wanting to fight. He was open to fighting Cotto at middleweight.
Fuck, Jesus Christ.
He's fought middleweight in amateurs. I don't say amateurs, but he's actually big. He's not tall, but he actually cuts a lot of weight to get into it.
He weighs
180 pounds.
Yeah, he does. He weighs about the same in the ring as Cotto did against Martinez. I think he's about 159, 160 in the ring, and has been for years.
Big guy.
Big head.
These two have hit a point, haven't they, where there's just the roads run out for both of them, and you know what, we might as well chuck them back in for a third fight, because the first two fights were both good fights, and Alvarado's having these out of the ring problems, battles with friggin' alcohol and caught with guns and all this malarkey. Rios is notoriously badly disciplined, and I think they're just saying you might as well beat lumps out of each other, and then maybe the loser will become cannon fodder for someone else, and the winner probably will also become cannon fodder for somebody else. So,
oh guys, listen to this. Floyd Mayweather has... Is it an old tweet, is it?
Yeah, it's the people retweeting it just because they do. It's an old tweet. There's another tweet that people...
I see it. 1,082 days. Fuck it. Sorry, Steve, on you go, mate. I never clocked that a bit.
Oh, no, that was pretty much it. I ain't got anything else to add.
So who's winning then?
Does anyone care?
Rios, I think.
Rios. Alvarado's done.
Let's put it this way anyway. I stayed up last night with percolated coffee for that fucking fight. I went to bed with a racing heart rate at 6 o'clock in the morning, and there's not a chance in hell. Kurt, I think you're right, mate. I'm getting too old for this shit, staying up at fucking 6 in the morning trying to watch this shit. I was crabbing all day, the kid, I had the fucking wife, I've got his sister-in-law over who's visiting as well, it's fucking crazy just now. I'm getting too old for this shit, as Captain Murtaugh says in Lethal Weapon, But yeah, I'm going with Rios. Anybody else?
Rios.
I think that's the safe pick.
The bookies make it a close fight. Rios 5-6, Alvarado 5-4. So it's that's about as close as you're going to get. You won't see odds like that on a Matchroom show.
Wasn't Rios in his last fight? He was basically losing to Diego Chavez, wasn't he?
Yes.
And that fight got stopped because of bullshit disqualification and stuff. So, I mean, what can we take for that? If Rios can't even handle Diego Chavez, and we know how limited he is Alvarado worse than Diego Chavez at the moment?
Not sure. Where's it being held?
Colorado.
Again,
That's Alvarado's hometown, isn't it? So.
I mean, if Alvarado loses this, as we've already alluded to, he's finished.
And I think on that note, I think we're finished as well. We're kind of dragging this shit out slightly, so I'd like to thank the panel members, Steve Wellens, Kurt Ward, Alex Morris, Adam Smith, Kyle McLaughlin, and the boss man, Tommy Allen. I've been your host, Andy Patterson. Slightly unorthodox pod this week, a lot of hate, a lot of negativity. Surely we'll get normal. That's normal, but I think we'll get picked up on again by certain haters and detractors, etc. You know who you are. But anyways, hopefully enjoy the show, and we'll see you next week. All the best. Carol Froch retired, no longer top 10 pound for pound. Thank God.
Please sign Ted Evans.
Drugs. Fucking rat! Fucking rat!
Val Winnison.